Ciao ragazzi, my name is Anthony, welcome back to Football Worldwide, and you are tuning in to the Serie A Roundup for Match Day 9. We start with Bologna versus Sampdoria 1-1. A time of transition for both sides with spoils shared between them. However, let's take a second to hog the headline with this amazing image. Yes, some conscious bias here, but Forza Deki Dejan Stankovic and Forza Thiago Motta, two Inter-heroes that won the treble together, clashing as managers, put that under things that you love to see. Both sides, though, will need to do a lot better than where they are right now. Next up, Cremonese 1, Napoli 4. Is there a side more red hot in European football and more on point than Napoli? Is there a better manager in Europe at the moment than, wait for it, you're not hearing things, Luciano Spalletti? Serie A's favourite hipster manager has grabbed Napoli by the horns this season and has made them into a formidable force not only in Europe but of course domestically in Serie A. With just 4 goals away from home once again, 3 points and an input of not 1, not 2, but pretty much every new signing from their mercato, Napoli continue to set the example. Cremonese managed to stay in the match by grabbing an equaliser, but such is the case this season where the smaller sides just run out of gas. By the way, Radu had another stinker. Next on the board, Monza 2, Spezia 0. In this perceived relegation 6-pointer, it was the new boys who were able to get the job done. They have just as many wins as Juventus quietly just this season, and with goals either side of half-time from Augusta and Mauri, it did the business. Spezia were one of my picks to be relegated, and to be honest, it looks as like they're going to be in for a rough season. Torino and Empoli shared the spoils as well with a goal apiece. Mattia Destro, wow, a world-class bicycle kick to make it 1-0, and after breaking the deadlock they were really unlucky at the end. Torino finding an equaliser with a late deflection and clearance gone wrong. Torino are 10th on 11 points, Empoli 14 with 8. Sassuolo 1, Inter 2. Frustrating match for my boys, the Nerazzurri, wearing their gorgeous away global map kit, but it was the Swan Eden Dzeko who netted not once but twice, which makes it not 100 but 101 goals in Serie A for the Bosnian. Well, have Inter turned the corner? They've got a little bit of momentum and a fight back could be on, but I will reserve my judgment after Barcelona and Salernitana. Speaking of Salernitana, they got a last gasp winner against Verona to win the game 2-1. It is Verona's 4th straight defeat, and Gabriel Cioffi has a contract until 2024, but we've seen this story in Serie A before, haven't we, guys? He needs to start putting some points together and fast and get Verona out of the drop zone ASAP. For Salernitana, the goal is simple: replicate last season's passion and survive the drop. Here was the game of the round, the hype fixture: AC Milan 2, Juventus 0. There are only 2 times a year where I like seeing Milan win, and it's when they play this team. There were many great fixtures, to be honest, on this particular match day, but this one stole the spotlight. Despite starting the game well for the opening 15 minutes, Juventus reverted back to their Allegri-esque ways and have suffered yet another defeat. Really bad game from the likes of Dusan Vlahovic and Locatelli and co. For Milan, well, that's the sort of performance and result that will leave very few people thinking that they cannot defend their crown this season. And wow, what an absolutely phenomenal goal by Brahim Diaz. I dare say in any other season, I don't think you'd be taking your shirt off at 2-0 against Juventus with 35 minutes still to play on the clock. But hey, this ain't your nonno's Juve, is it? Allegri and Agnelli have a little bit of a problem on their hands. It's a big fee to sack the manager in charge, but something needs to be done on the ASAP. Agnelli has his hands tied. Udinese 2, Atalanta 2, in what was another hype fixture on the round, built as a borderline top of the table clash. Atalanta must have surely thought that they had the points after a great Koopmeiners long ball was assisted by Muriel, and 1-0 for Lookman, and everything looks good so far. It didn't look good for Lookman after he celebrated though, getting a yellow card for doing a glasses celebration on his face. If you can't connect the dots, read the guy's last name again. As I said, Luis Muriel not only had a good game with an assist, but also got on the score sheet his 12th against his former side, Udinese. And at this point, you're thinking the Udinese bubble has finally burst. But Deulofeu gets his first goal of the season. And Nathan Perez gets the equalizer only 10 minutes later. There was still 15 minutes left in the game at 2-2, and Udinese almost stole it at the end. Where do we go next? We go to Roma 2, Lecce 1. Wow, what a game, but another disaster for Mourinho in terms of his mercato business. If it wasn't enough to lose Gigi Wijnaldum for the majority of the season, Paulo Dybala limped off with an injured thigh right after scoring the penalty. His year is over, and so is his chance of playing in the World Cup. That was probably his last chance to play in the World Cup as well. I hate to say it, but this is exactly why Juve cut their losses and exactly why Inter didn't pull the trigger. Oh yeah, and Chris Smalling at the back post, but you guys already knew that before the game kicked off, didn't ya? Last but not least, we stay on the Roman sides, but we move over to Tuscany. But there was no moving from the Tuscan side. Fiorentina 0, Lazio 4. Maurizio Sarri's men have just made history as they're the only team in Serie A history to win 3 games by 4-0. La Viola are going to have to wear the most disappointing crown for this season so far. 2 wins out of 9 for Italiano has left the fans a little edgy, but can we please just take a second to big up Lazio and Sarri? I've been quietly singing their praises in the background this season, and with their 3rd straight 4-0 result, who is going to say confidently that they are limited in terms of achieving their goals this season, as they have already racked up 20 points in 9 games. Vecino and Zaccagni got the early goals, Alberto and Immobile finished it off. Guys, that's all we're going to have time for in this particular Serie A Roundup. I want you all to do us a big favor and like the video, subscribe to Football Worldwide, and I'll be back after the next round of Serie A. Ciao ragazzi.